Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marketing Masters. It's Zania, and I've got here today Stanley Henry from The Attention Seeker,
Hey guys.
which is quite exciting. And the reason why I'm excited about this is because on a few different episodes of the podcast, when people when they think about like what a great campaign is from social media point of view, they often will bring up Jason Paris reacting to the comment as being like the pinnacle of social media campaigns done well.
Great.
So that was you guys.
Yeah, that was us. That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the whole angle of getting you on today came in and also because I've been following you guys and seeing you grow from the early days when it was like a few of you until like growing and growing and then going to New York and then trying to find Gary Vee and Joni doing all her crazy content on the streets. And it was so cool to watch because I feel like I know you because I've watched all the videos and I feel like I'm invested in the journey.
Yeah.
And so, it's exciting to have you here.
Oh, no, good. I'm stoked to be here. This is great. It's cool to hear that people like that campaign because it was one of our most favorite that we did as well.
I'm going off on the tangent, but how did that idea come up? Was it one of the team just brainstorming or was it that you were reading the comments when you were looking through to work on the business and then you suddenly thought this will be?
Look, all of the above. So all our campaigns are developed like with the strategy creative team sitting in a room and just batting our heads against the wall. But this particular instance, we got 9 days to deliver that campaign initially. Wow. And it was a pretty big, tight turnaround. And we delivered them the first concept, which was a lot more, it was a lot larger than life than that one was. They knocked it back thinking it was too much too soon. Yeah. And so then we went back into the room. It was a Sunday, actually. I had to call the guys in on a Sunday to get it done because we didn't have the time. And we just went through every single segment on every late night TV show we could think of. Just to get our brains turning. And then the mean tweets one came up and then it just all fell into place because we had read all the comments and done all our research on the brand and it just fell into place and then we just couldn't get it out of our heads and we presented the next Monday and then they loved it.
Oh my God. Today's episode of Marketing Masters is brought to you by Craving, an Auckland-based food and beverage content agency who specialises in recipe creation, food styling and production of the most delicious, epic-looking content in the market. Go to Craving, craving.co.nz to find out more. I know everyone is really interested to figure out how people have built their success, so it'd be quite cool like to get the Stanley story. Like, what is your
so far, So to take it back, like, so most of my career has been in hospitality. Yeah. So I worked in hospo since I dropped out of uni back in, 2006 or whatever that was, 2007. I started up at Sky City, Sky Tower, working in a buffet restaurant, clearing plates. And then I sort of just worked my way up through hospo. I went to Australia, London and whatnot, worked up through the food and beverage department, got into general manager positions of hotels. And over that 12-year period, I started to be known as like a bit of a Mr. Fix-It in hotels. Like I'd go into new hotels or food and beverage departments and that weren't doing so well and fix them up and get them profitable again. And I'd go to the next. And I had roughly about 12 jobs over 11 years over that period. And I got a bit of a knack for like getting a P&L working, right? Making businesses profitable and efficient and building the team culture back because that was always the problem. There's always some bad leadership and whatnot. So in 2019, I decided I'd go out and start my own business, but I didn't know what that was. I had no idea what the world would pay me for. And I didn't have like a large bit of capital to go and buy a restaurant which I probably would never have done anyway. So instead I just thought, let's see if I can sell my brain somehow to people. And so when I moved back to New Zealand in 2019, October, I just started putting content on LinkedIn and meeting people from it and just asking them for a coffee. And then that just snowballed to having 6 coffees a day, going to 6 next working events every night. And I just did that solid for 6 months and then lockdown happened. And then when lockdown happened, everyone started asking me, hey, that stuff you're doing on LinkedIn, like, can you help us do it? Because we need some help. And that was sort of the catalyst for the Attention Seeker. So that's when the Attention Seeker was born during lockdown.
So it was about attention seeking for the individual and personal brand?
Personal brand, yeah, for sure. So we only did even actually when we first started, it wasn't even really personal brand. It was just like lead generation on LinkedIn. Yeah. Like it was real scammy. Like nowadays, no one would sell it as a service because it's scammy as crap. But like back then, no one was using LinkedIn properly. Yeah. So we were just like direct messaging people. Yeah. And kind of made that a bad thing for everyone. You know how marketers ruin everything. That was us ruining LinkedIn messaging. But yeah, that sort of took off. Then we got personal brand, and then more and more people wanted content. And then we slowly just like hired in all the capability that we needed to, brought on videographers. We brought on Joni at one point to figure out TikTok, people to figure out podcasts and all sorts of stuff. And over the last 5 years, the business has just been a matter of doing something, getting it to work, selling it, using that money to hire someone else to figure something else out, sell it, and then just continue. And that's just like our whole business model. It's just figure it out, be the best at it as an agency level, sell it, make heaps of money, use all that money, spend it again on hiring more people, and then do the same process.
And so when you look at the business now, because you kind of grew in that personal friend space and organic, when you look at what you offer now, what is the structure of it?
The mix of it? It's still mostly organic, social, and still a large piece of its personal branding. So we still have a lot of clients in our books. We just manage their personal brands. But I would say that like the things we sell 3 things. We sell creative, we sell people, so project management, and we sell production. And the creative strategy side of it is, everything marketing strategy. Typically, like we own the budget, and we either own the budget as a small business, the whole marketing budget, or we own the whole social budget in the larger businesses. And that's where the strategy and creative like decide, okay, what are we going to do with that money? And then what does it look like? And then the project management piece, we have a whole client services team who essentially a stand-in for a social media manager or a marketing manager or whatever that might be for the business. And then production, we have a full in-house production. That probably sets us apart a little bit from other agencies of our size, that a third of our team is production.
Yeah. Where they'd found out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really want to get into the guts of it, because the whole idea of this podcast was secretly for me to learn from the best, the masters of people are going, and also because I really wanted to help people grow and learn. And constantly, I think with marketing, it's not something that stays still. It's not something that kind of you can set and forget. It's constantly changing, constantly being reinvigorated. And then with AI coming in and all of these incredible tools, and then mobile, and it changes. And so we've got to learn so quickly. And so that's kind of where my passion came in, is that I like to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's why this podcast exists.
Cool.
So ideally, what we want the listeners to get out of it is actionable, true kind of insights, and maybe basically trying to take the years that you've crammed into your learning and give some of it over to the listeners.
Love it.
So many businesses struggle with social media. Even though it's been around for a long time, they don't know why they need it, or how it can make money, or if it's important, or what's the role of it supposed to be. So how do you help them understand, what do you say to that?
Yeah. There's a couple of different arguments there. The first one is that social media is just as important as all the other marketing platforms. So is it the right one for you is probably the first question to ask, and it's not always the right one. We kind of think of it in these 5 stages. Stage 1 being your personal network. So some people can just have a really good business just on referrals, and they don't need anything else. They just got a really good network. If you went to Auckland Grammar or St. Cuth's, you're probably fine. You probably got a good enough network that you can just sell through your network, right? My brother's that. He's a mortgage broker. He's older than me. He never has to do marketing. Everyone knows him, and he can get all his business through that. Stage 2 is when you have a real dedicated audience, and this can be on a specific platform. Most of the time, that's going to be social media, like a LinkedIn or Instagram, but it can also be in specific networking environments that you could be, or community groups that you might be a part of. But if that is social media, the reason why that's so important, what it's doing is it's taking that personal network you have and just putting steroids on it. And it's just going, instead of talking to one-on-one people, you took 1 to 1,000 at a time, or 1 to 500 at a time. And so that's the importance of going to social media at that second stage, is you can just ramp up the amount of people you can talk to, saying the same thing you would do if you were at a networking event, or if you're talking to your friends at a barbecue or whatever. And then stage 3 is where we talk about going broad. And so that at that point, it's only necessary for people who don't know all the other potential customers and audiences that they need to speak to. Because when you get talking to 5 million people, 4.99 million of them are the wrong people. But every once in a while, you'll get a couple people that you didn't even know to go after, and then you open up a whole nother market segment. So when we went broad on TikTok, that's when we hired Joni and we figured out TikTok. That's when the brands like One New Zealand started coming to us. We didn't even think of going after. We were doing personal branding. So we didn't even realize that that was a potential that one of the largest companies in New Zealand would reach out to us and do this. So that would be the potential you'll see when you start to go broad on social media. And if you're a small business, it just opens you up for opportunities you never knew that existed. And that's why I think people should do it, but only if they've exhausted those other stages first.
Yeah.
So
the key that you kind of talked about all the time is getting it, like, to get the attention. You are the attention seekers.
Yeah.
And you're saying that led to these amazing opportunities with Light One.
Yeah.
So do you believe that through organic you can, and if you build a powerful platform through content that people want to watch, and you succeed at it, I suppose the challenge I've seen is that even really good organic content creators still find it quite challenging.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like the algorithms are shifting, or like you kind of go, oh, is it that they're changing it so that, like, you put a pay to play, or like...
Yeah. It's an interesting question. I think there's a couple of things in there. I think there's like, so you had a question about algorithms changing and how does that peak and trough of your viewership work? How do you turn it from like people wanting to watch your content to making a purchase, I think is another one. And then I think there's a third of like just the effort it takes and does it seem like it's working and how long it takes to work. I think that like that first one's quite easily solved, is that like everyone knows business is a marathon. Like it's not about fast. Even the fastest growing businesses take 10 years to grow. And most people in their second year business going, I need to grow fast. And it's like, okay, give it another 8 years and you'll be good. But people like are really bad with the sense of time, and they just think it like, oh, look at Stan, he's growing so fast. It's like, no, we're in our 6th year of business right now, and have poured everything into doing this. So I think the first thing is time. Like, don't underestimate how long it takes. It doesn't take months, it takes years. And if it didn't take that long of time, everyone would do it, and then we'd have new challenges, because then if everyone's getting all the business, and again, now supply's up. When it comes to like the peaks and troughs of viewership that people go through when they're like, oh, I put out some videos and I get a lot of views and then I don't, and it's the algorithm changing. There's a couple of things to think about. One, just constantly improve your content. Like it's probably that your content sucked and you just need to make it better. That's fine. I really like that thought, because it's easier to fix content if you know it sucks than it is to go, how do I fix the algorithm of a multi-trillion-dollar organization that I have no control over? The other thing is like, look at your total average views, or your total or average views, sorry. So like, we don't look at an individual video necessarily. Like, we will individually to check how the video went, but when we're looking at a campaign or growing the brand, it's like, what is our average viewership over the month? How many views are we getting in total? So we might get like 40,000 views a video, let's say, when we're used to getting 4 million views a video.
Yeah.
But if we got 100 of those, 40,000, you're getting 4 million, and we can just pump it out. So it seems like more work, but actually just look at your total viewership. It's still like, even if you got like 200 views a video and you did 100 videos, like it's still a crap, whatever that is, 20,000 views, 20,000 people seeing your stuff. You'd hope that after 100 videos, you're getting more views than 200, but you're still getting like a crap load of people watching your content. And if you just do that forever, that will accumulate and that will grow. So don't worry about like views peaking and troughing. Like we never do. Like you'll see on our profile, we'll have videos that get like 2,000 views. For our channel,
millions.
Yeah, for our channel, that seems like nothing. But because we do so much, and every once in a while you get one that pops off, that's all you need.
But do you think that it's because that format wasn't right, and that's why it didn't do well?
No, just the video was bad. It was just a bad video.
Yeah.
Format. When you say format, what do you mean?
So like you might. Have you created like a format style? Like say the Joni presentations when she's doing the.
Yeah.
And they seem to always do quite well.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm pretty sure you guys started that trend of, I've got to get 100,000 likes or my boss is going to fire me. And suddenly everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Do you think that
it gets to a point where that format will always work if it's done well?
Yeah.
Or could it be, because this is where I'm trying to figure out, is it the algorithm or is it that the content was just terrible? And so, or is it you sometimes do a video with a PowerPoint presentation that you think is going to go off because it has all the other times and then it doesn't?
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, we'll never do those presentation formats again.
I think it's all down to individual video. Individual video. Because people would like to use that as an excuse. Oh, no, the style's done and so forth. But like, I mean, just have a listen to Chapel Roan's music right now. Like, you're huge. And it's just Cyndi Lauper 30, 40 years ago, right? Like, it's just, she's just recycled stuff No, but like it's that same vibe and feel is what I mean.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just in a modern twist.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that like people recycle stuff all the time. Look at whole of Bruno Mars's career.
Yeah.
And so that's in music, but actually what it's telling you, music's just another form of content. What it's telling you is that like you can just recycle stuff all the time. Another way to look at it is the amount of ads from the 90s and 2000s that go viral on TikTok now all day long. And just the other day, the Beach Dares video went viral again on TikTok and Instagram. Like that Beach Dares video was the Beach Dares one, which was, I can't remember who made it, but it was just about a whale being beach dares, and it went viral like back in 2007 or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And on YouTube, and it just went viral again recently.
Come around again.
The thing is, like, where people want to use it as an excuse is that it's
not taking ownership.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just your story. You try to you thought the style was going to get you the views, not the story.
Yeah. So, what is that secret to creating content that stops people from scrolling? Because that is the $100 million question. And it's really it's challenging.
It is challenging.
We talk about hooks and
it is challenging. Hooks, of course, are important. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think at the fundamental core of it there's a story that you're trying to tell, and your story needs to be relatable enough or absurd enough that people will stop and watch. And we kind of think of like the relatable absurdity thing being like a circle where you can be super relatable or super absurd, and you get less relatable as you go around and you become more absurd. The key is to get them where they join.
Oh.
And you get them both to, there's like a barrier between them, and it's quite hard to get them both to join. But if you can give it relatable and absurd.
Yeah.
So like Joni pitching to me is absurd, but it's relatable in this boss employee dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's like a perfect crossover.
Did you get a tattoo?
I did. I've set my pants off to show you, so it's probably not going to happen. But that's a relatable absurdity piece.
Yeah.
And where most people do is they sit in the middle somewhere and they try to be a little bit of both. And then that's where it falls flop. So if you can get the relatable absurdity piece, either be super relatable, super absurd, ideally overlapped, and then tell a story, you'll get people along. And like story structure is real basic. Like story structures never really change. Like the 3-act structure of a setup, conflict resolution has always been the story structure. Don't break it unless you're really good. Only really good people like Christopher Nolan can break story structure. Otherwise, if you're not Christopher Nolan, just stick to story structure. And you'll make, look at Marvel. That's all they did. They stuck to the formula, never deviated, and they built
changed the characters. Yeah. So, with organic, because I interviewed Meta in Europe, one of the guys from Meta Europe, and they were like, this organic thing, he's like, it's a waste of time. And I said, well, of course you're going to say that because you're Meta and you want to make more money, and you want people to put their credit cards in and buy more ads. And then he was like, no, but think about it seriously. And he said, if you want to grow a business, how much faster would you have grown if you didn't do it organically, if you did put money behind it and you kind of bet on yourself? And would you have grown the business faster? And I think it's a really interesting concept. So imagine if you had
for sure
done paid ads from year 2, would you have achieved the growth that you've achieved now, maybe 2 or 3 years faster?
Oh, for sure. But it's a budget versus, it's a cost versus benefit conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so, give me unlimited budget. I'll do all the things, right? Yeah. Like, would I have grown faster if I run TV ads? Yeah, of course I would have. If I had to run drive time radio ad spots and stuff, like, yeah, of course. But
you're going to have proper money.
Yeah, well, that's it. And the same with ads, though. Yeah. Ads are expensive on Meta. They are. Like, to get them to work and convert, they're really expensive. And people think, oh, no, it's like, $4 per CPM. And it's like, yeah, but like, what does that even do for you? You need to spend. So, our lead at the moment with the brand we have behind us, our leads cost us $20, but we'll only convert 1 in 100 of those if we're lucky. That's $2,000 as my cost per acquisition for a lead, which is fine for us because how big the contracts are. But like for most people when you're starting out, like you can't just burn through $10,000 before you get someone through the door. You know what I mean? Because it's not, you don't get 100, then you get a deal. You got to get 500 ads and work on all those deals over time. It takes 4 or 5 weeks to convert. So yeah, of course, I would have loved an unlimited budget to do it. I think the question's actually trying to say, do you need to have a better split of that money? Like, do you make sure you still have some?
If you really wanted to set yourself up for success have both. It's a paid and organic strategy.
Yeah.
And
I think in the beginning stages when you're small, I don't necessarily think you need it. If you're selling professional services, I think you're better off putting all your effort into your personal networking. That's the easier way to make lots of money early on as a professional service. If you're selling like widgets or like something worth $100 or whatever, 100% I'd jump onto ads straight away. That's a whole different thing, because your ability to get someone to purchase straight off a website is far easier than someone buying my service straight off a website. So I think it depends on your business, what you're trying to sell. We got some clients who sell, $40 things, but they only sell them in Countdown. So are they going to run conversion ads, or are they going to be running ads? Is that the right thing for them to do? Or do they just need to build a lot of hype around their business that drives people in store to buy the thing that they do? And look, if you're small, I would say that that's a better option than it is pumping money into ads. If Countdown want you to sell more, why don't they pump the money into the ads to bring people in? It's not going to ever happen. So I don't know. I think it shouldn't be a hard and fast rule. And anyone listening to this going, oh, what's the secret mix for me? It's just not. It's dependent. Your budget, what you're selling, where you are, how good is your personal network, what can you afford? Yeah.
So if you were a SME business and you had $5,000 per month to spend on social, and you could put some of that $5,000 into content creation and running it as organic strategy, or you could actually just put it all into ads, what would you do with that $5,000?
Again, what type of business? If I'm a professional service business, and I had $5,000, and that would mean that I've got probably a pretty decent revenue structure to have $5,000 left over. I personally would probably just go and hire someone like a content creator or someone who can in-house. That's how I would do it. I would probably bring someone internally. And now there's lots of ways to do that for small businesses that we promote a lot of, which is go and find one of these young content creators who are really good, couple 100,000 followers. They're getting brand deals, but they're getting bugger all. They still work at a local retail store or something, and say to them, look, I'm going to give you $5,000. You're going to get paid $60,000 a year. There's your base salary. I need you to execute this many pieces of content for me in a month. Outside of that, do all the brand deals you want to do all the other content creation you want to do for your personal brand. So still scale your other side of your revenue. But you also need to deliver, say, 10 videos a week for me as well. And that's exactly what we did with Joni, right? That's exactly the structure we had with her, which is she still gets brand deals on her own, on her own stuff. Yeah. But with us, she gets a salary to deliver on a certain amount of stuff. And it's perfect because we gave her incentive targets that if you hit a certain amount of followership, she got pay rises, because we knew that as we grew, we'd earn more money. So then that $5,000 a month I now had is now a bit more I can spend on people. That's what I would do if I was professional services. But if I was selling shoes, I'd probably have a much bigger influencer or UGC or ads budget going into it. I'd be trying to get my product into people's hands. So how would I do that? So I just think it's a hard one to say. If there's an individual that had a specific question, I could probably figure it out. If you're a professional service out there and you're trying to do it, just make more content. Yeah. Just make more content.
Okay, I'm going to fly through this question because I know there's so many that I want to get through. Yeah. So if a business has those limited resources and they don't know how to create content, they can't afford to pay someone to do it. Yeah. Is your advice to them, build your personal brand, keep filming yourself? Even with you when you were doing your videos where you weren't, it wasn't, it was just working. Yeah. It was still you showing up. Yeah. Is that your recommendation for most businesses when you're trying to get them off the ground?
Probably not, because people won't do it. It's not a cost thing at that point. It's a fear, and it's people insecurities are playing up at that point. My advice when you're at that level and you're trying to make some content as cheap as possible is to do what I'm doing with you right now. Yeah. Is just reach out and be like, does anyone want a podcast guest? And look, of course, as your brand builds, you'll get more opportunities on podcasts, but just get onto a couple of them. Podcasts are always, you would know, it's so hard to get guests. The admin of getting one, if someone lands on your doorstep and they've got a cool story, if they've been able to pitch themselves to you, well, here's my cool story, you'll take it because you're like, oh, well, actually, this is great. I don't have to do anything. You just turn up on my doorstep, right? Especially what we do with some of our clients who we do the same approach for, is we write the whole brief, all the questions, everything you sent to me on all the questions, We do that for our clients. Give it to the podcast host and be like, here you go. You don't have to prep. Just please take our guest. I would do that because now you're getting to steal other people's audiences. You're also you can take all those clips, repurpose them on your own channels and stuff. And then you're not having to worry about content creation at all.
Yeah.
And the best bit is that you just speak to the things you know.
Yeah.
And you look way more natural than looking down the camera, really
trying to make the
thing
come up.
Yeah.
It is hard. A podcast is easy for me.
Yeah.
Because you're just talking and I love talking. But sitting in front of a video camera on my own, impossible.
Yeah.
Hard.
Oh, it's so
my brain turns into jelly and forgets everything I've learnt over the years of my...
Just on that, if you are going to create content, my advice though is don't worry about video, just write. Just trust me, just write content. The skill that you pick up when you write content and you learn how to tell a story through written words will translate to video long term anyway, as you get there. It'll also help you really articulate your offerings and what you do and who you are. Even if you just create like Threads or X or some other profile, you can put your written word out when people won't know it's you, just to test it, just to get it going.
You've got an X account? Have you got an X account?
Oh, I mean, I got an X account, but I haven't been logged in for, 4 years or something. I don't know. Yeah. Can't remember the last time I went on X.
No.
So, yeah, but what I mean is just a written platform where you can put stuff and be anonymous. If you just want to practice your writing, don't practice doing video. Practice telling a story in written form. When you get to video, you'll smash it.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100%. If you're a good storyteller.
Natural transition from someone who's good at writing to being good
100%.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, because the hardest bit about video isn't actually your charisma on video. The hardest thing is keeping a coherent train of thought when you're telling a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can get some real charismatic people, put them on camera. They can't tell a story in the field that we're trying to tell it in. Yeah. They can tell a story. They can have a yarn. That's a different thing. But if they can't communicate the thing that they're trying to communicate quickly, then it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how charismatic they are. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I never would have thought that was a natural progression.
The problem is that most people who are charismatic on camera are also very good storytellers already. Yeah. And so you miss it. You don't really realize. You just think, oh, they're so good on camera. But actually what they're really good is really good storytellers, which is why they're charismatic. Because you find them charismatic because they pull you in with their stories all the time.
Yeah.
And then if they're really good at the thing that they do, then they're also good at communicating that. They've probably been in sales at some point in their career and really good at, or owned a business. And so you miss the reason why they're good at video.
Yeah.
But if you're not good at video, not good at content creating anything, start with writing. Writing is like, it's worth its weight in gold.
I'm kind of hating LinkedIn at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've changed the format and the algorithm on mobile.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all video.
It's all video, yeah.
And now I'm like missing the beautiful written post.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Starts off video straight away now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to scroll a little bit. I mean, you got to try to keep up.
I know. But it's like, was the last platform where it felt like
written
was still kind of appreciated at the fore.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it evolves over the next year. I think video will win out on it because its ability to run ads is so much better in a video platform, and they know that. That's why they're doing it.
Make more money.
Yeah.
So in talking about like taking customers along a journey and like you've got this amazing organic strategy, there was a question that I had in my mind, which was, if you create an amazing organic strategy and your videos go viral, say on TikTok, you've got no way, because that virality could be heading over to America, to Europe. You could have an audience from all over the world. And if you're a New Zealand business and you don't serve the world.
Yeah.
So, I had sort of a question around that idea of TikTok specifically, because it's like you want to create these amazing videos that go off, and that's because they put them out there and they kind of test them and they'll fly and they might be all over the world, and then you've got this global audience and these amazing videos that have done really well, but then you're like, I can't sell to these people.
Yeah, like, for sure. There's a couple of things. I mean, the first one is that if you're getting millions of views globally, you're probably still getting more average views in New Zealand than you would if you had a small video just go to New Zealanders. So the raw numbers of Kiwis watching your content's probably increased. So that's something to think about. But we look at, I only got 2% of my audience from New Zealand. It's like, well, 2% of 10 million, like, that's more than 100% of 10,000. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the math. I probably just made a mistake, but whatever the math works out to be. The other thing is, this is where ads come in really important. So like, say, take a brand like One New Zealand. Yeah. We have videos go viral all the time with theirs, but they can only sell in New Zealand. There's no point in them getting views in even Australia. So, but the content's good now. So the algorithm's told you this content's resonating with most people that see it. So now we can just retarget to all of New Zealand, right? We just show all the Kiwis this one piece. So now you'll get...
Do you then do a kind of like a slight overhaul of it, and then because you're kind of turning it into a
conversion piece.
Yeah. Or is it the same?
You can. It depends on what your goals are. So, like, take a brand like One New Zealand. Typically, it's a brand piece anyway. So it's like watching a TV commercial from their point of view. So no, we wouldn't change anything. But let's say we've done some with Pizza Hut, for instance. And with Pizza Hut, we had a video that did like 12 million organically. And so you had to retarget it because it was like, yeah, it's great because Pizza Hut's a global brand, but actually we work for the New Zealand arm.
Yeah.
So then we retarget that with the actual video that went viral was like what we call a bait and switch. So it's pretend it's a content, but actually we're selling you something and we're deliberately doing it. That's the joke. So that already had the call to action baked into it already. So then we just pushed it to everyone anyway.
Yeah.
So didn't have to worry about it. But then there's other situations where, 100%, like you've got a video, it just went viral, you know it's good. How do you incorporate the call to action piece? I think the trick is that with Meta, specifically, because I don't know, TikTok's ads are not anywhere near advanced as Meta's are. If I had a reel go viral, you just retarget it. It comes up with the flashing bar at the bottom of what you want them to do. So if they really enjoy it, the people interested will click it. So I think the ad platform itself will do the work for you rather than having to recut it.
So do you think social media works best when it's like a funnel? You're kind of doing your big attention-driving creative at the top, and then you're kind of working a funnel, so to speak, or like taking people along the journey to then retarget, do the conversion ads to get them to the point. And so the success is measured on not how many views or engagement, but it's ideally what that you've sold or you've got more of what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So nothing about marketing funnels has necessarily changed except for the mechanisms you use or the tools you use to do them. But like, it's no different to going back into traditional above the line stuff, running TV ads and how that would trickle down until you got into store or whatever it might be. It's just that they're more advanced now with all the things that you can do. And then an organic strategy is just a TV strategy. That's the way we look at it too. So no different to above the line strategies that people would run all this, build a really nice ad and then play it to the public as often as possible and put it on billboards and all this sort of stuff. We take exactly the same approach, but we do it on organic. But we're trying to make so the difference between the two is that an above the line TVC campaign, those very rarely are the ads designed for people to want to watch. They're really just about pushing something. Every once in a while you get like, tip tops undies togs or something like that, and then people think it's hilarious, and that's cool, and that's a really great creative piece. But that doesn't happen that often, and we can probably name them all if we sat here. There's only probably 10 of them or so. So what we do is just try to do undies togs, but all the time, like just always constantly doing that. And if you do that well, the algorithm and the content platforms want to push it out to everyone. So now you're getting the reach for free through the platforms. And then so once that starts, then you can do all the next pieces that everyone's always done in a marketing funnel. The success for us is viewership, because viewership is telling you that the number of views tells you this was a good piece of creative. And if you don't get the viewership, then the creative wasn't right. So go fix the creative. It doesn't mean throw it out, just completely throw it out. Maybe you just need to re-edit it. And put it out again. But 100% viewership. I don't look at that downstream. I trust the funnel process. I trust it'll work. I trust that we've got all the pieces in play. Yeah. And that it will work, because that's human behavior. That's human psychology. It will work. So trust that it does. It's been happening for forever in marketing, since marketing's been around. These the funnels have just got more sophisticated, probably more steps, but the funnel works.
Messy.
Yeah.
More messy. Good. We'll call it the messy middle.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely lots of it.
Ideally, if humans were very logical and predictable, we'd all be really rich.
Yeah.
But they're not.
No.
So that's why you have this messy middle where they kind of go from, I just found out about something, to actually getting them to whip out their credit card is challenging.
Yeah.
And I think if it was easy, then there'd be a load more millionaires in this world.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's...
To be honest, I think there'd be more consolidation. Because you'd have the guys with power buying everything up because they know how to make it work. Yeah. But they don't. And then so you have these other people come in like, I figured out a piece of the messy middle you couldn't as a smaller business, and I cracked it. And, so I think actually if it was easy, there would be a larger gap between the big and the small. But I think at the moment, because how messy it is and no one can figure it out, like that spread is so much different, right? Like, look at us, like, how are we stealing business off the big agencies 5 years in? We shouldn't be able to.
No.
They should be able to destroy us every time.
Yeah.
But they can't.
And that you're growing.
Yeah.
In a market where people are making people redundant.
Exactly. That shouldn't happen, but because that middle is so messy, no one can figure it out. So it's better that it stays messy for to have more quality.
Better for you.
Well, yeah, it's not as good for the big guys.
No.
But it brings in more competition. It spreads it out. It means that the small guys have an actual opportunity to take on the big guys. And just allows us all to have an equal opportunity to take the market. Yeah.
In your mind, is it better to be everywhere, or fragmentation and kind of trying to be in as many places, or do you think it's better to lock into a couple of channels and do them really, really well?
I mean, I think the more places, the better. I actually do think that. I think you should, like, omnipresence is great.
Yeah.
If you can just be everywhere, be everywhere. It's just, again, a budget cost-benefit analysis. Like Moody, I would say, don't need to be on TV anytime soon. I reckon they can pull off enough stunt free media with the way that they're growing for free. Like, just this stuff about selling out the shelves at the moment. Cool. Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I love what they're doing, both from a personal brand perspective with the two founders, and then also from a company brand. I don't think... Oh, it's ridiculous. I know. Don't remind me how young she is. It's amazing. I love it. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Their story's awesome. And I don't... So in that instance, when you've got this hype around you, realize that, like, you've got a great story that other people want to tell. So don't pay to tell it. They're going to pay you to tell it. And that's what I would do. I would be leveraging every opportunity they have to get their story told on as many platforms as possible. And they are actually doing that you can see, because there is press coming out about it. And, like, even Mel and our team, who runs a podcast, has had them on her podcast.
Yeah.
Other stuff. So, like, people are... I mean, you're going to be on a panel with her, right? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah, she's going to be on that.
Yeah. So that's it. So, like, they don't need to do this big stuff because they're getting asked to do it for free already. Once that hype won't last forever, that'll die off eventually. They may get to a point where, okay, now it makes sense that we need more attention. Let's go to TVCs, or let's go to radio or billboards or whatever it might be. Entering new markets, it might be an easier and faster way to do it if they're going to enter into new, maybe. Because if they haven't already got the social presence there, they're probably not going to get it really quickly by pouring more money into social.
But maybe I'm just biased because I think so. And people will say, anyone who knows me thinks that I am biased towards loving social media more than other channels. And it's probably because I've seen what it can do for brands. It can build brands. It can make brands hugely successful. It can be, even if that's the only channel that they do and they do it really well, it can change people's lives.
Oh, interesting.
But, like, when you think about AF drinks going to America, and then they did these cool augmented reality kind of videos with huge oversized cans being put into, like, trucks and being driven off, and then they did that video with the Kardashians. Like,
oh yeah,
it's
huge. No, it's huge. Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, I am a big believer.
Like, what you're I'm quite vocal sometimes about, like, I know people go, TV's really important. It's got a massive job to do. But there's a part of me that's like, well, yes, I agree. All channels have got amazing...
But would you do it first?
But would I do it first?
Nah, of course not. Of course not. No, I wouldn't either. I guess...
People don't like to hear that, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, because if I was Moody, no way. Moody know how to play the game. Yep. I wouldn't do it with Moody. Moody's just like AF. Like, Moody... She mentioned the other day she was thinking about doing a GBC. Nah. She shouldn't. Yep. She doesn't need to. They know how to do social. They'll crush it. They're probably talking to people who maybe in that field who's like, you'd have to be talking to someone to plant that sort of idea into your head. But like my chiropractor said to me, when you go to a surgeon, they only have one option. Like, they're going to offer you surgery. There is no other option. So if you talk to someone who cares about TVC, they're only going to offer you that. But then in bias, I'd say the same about me. Like, if you come see me, I'm going to tell you to do social.
Yeah.
And I would think brands like Moody and that have nowhere near kept out social and what it can do for them. But if I was like, if I look at the One New Zealand budget and what they're spending their stuff, of course they should be doing GVCs. They've got such a huge budget. They're spending a massive amount with us. Any more with us, it's not going to do them much more, really. Like, they're not going to get a lot more out of us if they spend double. They're not going to get double, that's for sure.
It'd be interesting to know, like, so... If you took a big brand, I'm not going to give one as the example, but say a big enterprise, like a big brand.
Yeah.
What percentage do you think should be allocated towards social from your perspective? If it was a big brand, like
so if it's like one New Zealand big, like top 50 in the country kind of thing.
Yeah. What would you expect or hope?
I would say, well, just looking at the big brands that we have, they're probably anywhere from a media, like from an agency budget, not total marketing budget, but their budget that they spend in external resources.
Media spend.
Yeah, out external,
not agencies. Yeah.
I would say that they probably all, from what I've seen, are spending around the 10% mark.
See, that's not enough.
I don't think it's enough from a... Oh, no, hang on. No, it'd be more than that. It'd be probably 30 because 20% of it would be the ad spend. They're probably spending double as they are with us. So 10% with us and then another 20% on ads on top of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so about 30. They spend a lot.
30's
not a lot. Like we've got brands that are spending $3 million on one campaign over the course of 2 or so years. It's one campaign that's rolling out. Like, they spend big money.
2 years.
They spend big money on their Meta and TikTok platforms. So they are spending a lot on the social ads. I think the question actually is, how much should they be spending on content? And I think this is where a lot of big brands aren't. So we're lucky that the brands we're working with are allocating a good 10% of their budget, which is huge money for us.
10% of their production budget.
Yeah. Well, in their mind, like in the way the budgets we see, it's all combined when they tell us. But yeah, whatever the terminology. Look, I'm a hotelier, so I don't even know how the budgets get defined and chopped up.
Yeah.
But it's around 10% of all the money they have to spend externally.
Yeah.
Would get. And
that would be
production.
With you guys, a lot of it is on content creation.
Yeah. So those three things: strategy, people, and production. We don't run the ads for a lot of those big companies because they all have their own internal people now these days for the social ads. Their media company is probably not doing their social ads anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got your own house.
They got a lot of them got in-house now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Restaurant brand, a lot of them do now because it's no point giving to a media agency who are just going to put 20% on top.
Yeah.
I think they could spend more. I think the issue isn't necessarily with the businesses, but with the bigger agencies and the way that they create everything, right? Like a TVC doesn't need to cost $1 million.
But they do.
I know. All day long.
But they do.
All day long.
Yeah.
They don't cost that much. They don't need to, though.
Well, they don't cost, not all of them.
No, not all of them, but they're all 6 figures at least, you know? And it's not to take away from the work that these video production teams are doing, because they do amazing work, but they don't need to cost that amount to do them. And that's why these budgets are allocated that way, because we need a TVC. The only way to get a TVC is, you need $1 million, let's say. Okay, well, we have to give $1 million there, and then we need another $3 million for the media spend on top of it. Okay, there's $4 million. Okay, we got $500,000 left. Okay, what do we do? Okay, here's social. You know, it's and it's because in social, it's okay, Sen, you're not going to charge me $1 million per video. And they know that. So I think the problem is we're able to create videos for tiny percentage of the cost of a TVC and more people will watch it.
Yeah.
And that's the switch that has to happen, that they have to realize, okay, you guys making our TVCs, you're charging too much.
Yeah. You
keep getting more expensive. And then, but this over here, social gets...
But you're talking about a whole industry shift.
I know. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon. No. There's too much money at stake.
I think that's really interesting, where these brands that have proven that if you can switch up the model. So Duolingo, they had TV ads, they did traditional, and then Zania came along and she's completely just turned everything on its head, and now they've cut their TV budget and they've put everything into social and organic social, and now Duolingo's dead, so I don't even know where it's going. I can't even you're where is it going to go?
You know where I think the industry will shift when this is our push anyway. Yeah, this is my plug. Is that we're pushing to some of these big brands. Give us a small budget and we'll make you a TVC, and then see how it runs, see how it performs compared to your $1 million one. Give us $50,000 to make you one. Yeah, and we'll see who wins. Can we make an ad that outperforms or gets more recognition?
Just traditional media.
Yeah. You know?
And what happens when you say that?
Well, of course they all want... Of course they all want to try. A lot of them are interested, but the problem is that you've got to convince them at the budgeting stage, because, say the big agencies have already tied up that budget for 3 years, so we have yet to find. But if I talk about it enough, eventually one of them is
let's try it.
Just give it a crack. What's 50 grand when we're spending?
Back in the day when social just launched, I was working in London and we went to Kimberly Clark.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, you're going to spend 50 grand on so every Valentine's Day they would go, the puppy would dress up. They can go and give out roses outside of like tube stations to do a little bit of brand love. And we were like, give us the budget that you would do for the activation for your first social campaign. And we gave away, in those days, Facebook had virtual gifts and you could create roses, you could create branded gifts.
Yeah.
So we did the puppy with the rose and the tea. And there was different versions. And then we did ads targeting different, like men to men, woman to woman, woman to men, all of it. And it went insane. That was when they were like, oh, this is quite, that was their first foray really into social media.
Yeah.
And then the puppy went off and he's got a massive following now.
Yeah.
But it took doing it as a test to go, you're going to do this activation and how many people will you reach with that?
Yeah, exactly.
Outside Bond Street or Foxford Circus.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to reach this many more people and it's a test. And then from then on, they were like, oh, wow, their eyes opened up and the power of what was possible was suddenly like they were blown away.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, this makes sense. We want to put more investment into this.
Yeah.
And then they were doing loads of activations and PR and it was crazy. But and they were launching, I remember they were launching, like they have really a much better toilet paper range in England than they do in New Zealand. So they had like a toilet paper that was infused with shea butter.
I love
and
that.
It was like, it was all brown silk packaging. And, and they did these amazing, like influencers wasn't even a term then. It was like, they did these amazing activations where all of these influential people would come together. And
I love that.
Essentially where PR was smashing up with influencers with social media. And it was like years ago.
Yeah.
And it was so successful.
No, I agree. I agree that there's not enough money being spent in social, but I also understand like the thing of someone giving me 50 grand is never going to happen. And then also, even if they did, every man and his dog will start to be like, oh, I can do a quick cheap video for 50k too, and then the quality will drop and then it'll kill it again. And the guys who made the good ones will be like, see, I told you we're good.
And ideally, you don't want it to be about the price.
Nah,
exactly. It should be that value exchange. Yeah, like if I'm going to give you this much value, what's it worth to you?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, like, I don't know. Like, I'm for us as a business, owning the social budget is really good for us. It allowed us to have a seat at the table when
in the boardroom.
Yeah, when we shouldn't probably have that seat at the table, but because of the team I've assembled around me, who are all ex-advertising people, who can hold that room. Now we have now we get to be in the room for all the ad agencies. And slowly but surely, you just chip away at it.
Yeah.
And you take some, and we're not going to take everything. These are behemoths, but we'll get our slice, and we'll be okay with it.
What about AI and how, like, I'm just curious, I'm going to piece, but I'm curious to know, are you interested? Are you playing with it?
Everything. All day long.
Exciting?
Yeah. But with
content creation and
the thing with content creation is with AI, so we look at it two ways. There is second brain and there's efficiencies. So in content creation, don't use it to create content from nothing. We use it to enhance the content production side. Like podcast is a good idea. Running this audio through AI, like just instantly can clean it up in seconds, which would have you might have just ruined all your audio if it was bad, you know. So there's that sort of stuff. But the second thing is a second brain, is using it to help you think through tasks or do lots of heavy lifting work really quickly. So we'll do like a discovery of a client, or like they'll be saying this, I need this thing happen. So one of the clients will come with a campaign, tell us all the stuff that they need. They don't really know what they need. We run our Otter. We use Otter in our business, and it will
meeting note.
And it will transcribe everything.
Yeah.
And then you just ask it, can you write me a reverse brief for this? And it knows how we want it done. And then you just go back to the client and say, is this what you meant? And they're like, yep, cool, okay, well, we'll get on with the job. Was that reverse brief could have taken 4 or 5 hours to write after a meeting like that. So then it allows you to go straight into thinking mode for how to solve that brief, as opposed to 5 hours of just trying to write a brief.
Yeah.
So that sort of stuff, I think, allows you to then spend more time doing the thing humans are best at, which is the creative part.
Yeah.
It's like coming up with ideas and brainstorming them. Because the best ideas come from killing all the ideas. Like if you sit in a room for 2-3 hours trying to come up with a strategy or campaign for an idea, you'll get one at the first 15-20 minutes and you'll run with it. And you'll be like, oh, cool, we've done it, let's go. But if you can kill that to go, nah, bad idea, let's go again. and you just keep doing that, what you'll do is you'll have to prove that idea being the best.
Yeah.
And then you'll keep working through it. But if you're so stretched on time because you got to write briefs and you've got to put a pitch deck together and you got all the stuff that AI can just do for you, then you can spend more time trying to get it wrong inside the room.
And get the creative right.
Exactly.
Sorting up flows.
Yeah. And that's like with the 1NZ campaign, that's what we did there, right? We went back on the Sunday and we spent half a day just like working through every single thing until we figured it out. And then once we got the idea, killed it, kept trying, realized it was great, went back to it, and then developed it fully.
Yeah.
Which meant that we got like the core idea really well, and it got to that relatable absurdity piece where the crossover was.
See, with the one stuff though, it was so freaking brilliant. Why hasn't it come back?
Why aren't we doing it again?
Yeah. Like it should be a content series.
Yeah, we'd agree.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to get in trouble with that. Look, I think it should. I think what people find hard is.
Did they think it was hugely?
No, they think it's amazing. Yeah. No, they think it's no. They were stoked with it. I think where a lot of people struggle is repeating themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggle with doing the same thing over and over. They always want the next new thing to hit the new reach, the new heights. One of the things if you watch our content series we're trying to do is like stay on them for a long period of time. Like we'll run them out for a few months, do the same thing. We change them up because we test on our own platforms, but we try like this the coffee one that Joni's doing at the moment. We'll run it for at least 3 months.
I haven't seen that one. What you doing?
So she's going out and asking strangers to come in for a coffee with me. Yeah, and the idea is that like coffees for us is like what we call a lead. Like come in for a coffee. All the terminology in our business, a lead is called a coffee.
Yeah, that's because you really love coffee. Yeah,
it's because I love coffee, and that's what I do with it. Right? When we have one. And so anyway, she's got this whole series. We'll run it for 3 months. And you'll see all these peaks and troughs. We've already had a couple of videos hitting the millions, but then you'll get a bunch of videos and you get 5,000-6,000. Yeah. But then in like 6 days from now, you'll get another 2 videos that hit a few million, and you have all these peaks and troughs. And that's just because we haven't refined it well enough or whatever, and because we're making so many, whatever the excuses are, it just wasn't good enough. But the point of the story is that it's to show customers actually like if you just keep holding the joke, like it'll get funnier and funnier as time goes on, and it's probably like. The longer you hold it, the bigger the peaks will be. And the reason why I'm saying this is because something like Mean Tweets or the other great campaigns we've had with clients, they'll see it, you'll do it a couple more times, they won't go as big, and they're like, oh, it's dead now, we should change.
Yeah.
And we're trying to prove to them that, no, that's not happening. It's just that, like, not every video can be a 10 million view video.
No.
And it could, but you don't have the resources to
Look at Chicken Shop Date.
Yeah. Exactly. Look at all of them. Like all these big things. Not all of them go off. But if you have the resources, you can. Like if you're Mr. Beast, for instance, you can like pour over every second to make sure it's right. But
did you watch the interview that he just took Diary of a CEO, Stephen?
No, I haven't watched that yet.
You haven't watched it?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
It literally just opened my eyes to that to be that 1%.
Yeah. And that
you have to
be obsessed.
Well, he's depressed. Yeah. He's sad and it's hard and
it's obsession.
The reason why there aren't any other Mr. Beast or that many of them is because it is like your life.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And so because people can't do that, you can't have every video be like him that gets 300 million views. Like,
and the amount of money that he spends on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're not small productions.
No. So instead, just do lots. Do it repetitively. Every 7 or 8 videos, you'll get one that takes off.
Yeah.
But just keep repeating it. So to answer your question, the reason why we haven't continued to do Mean Tweets is not to say we'll never do it again. It's just that the need for brands to constantly want to do something different and all other priorities, right? Like you think about a brand like One New Zealand, how many priorities and business arms they got wanting time on social to just do a pure self-indulgent brand play is like such a luxury for a brand to just be like, you know what, we're just going to talk about ourselves and nothing else for a little while. When, you're sitting there and they've got like the enterprise team saying they need, saying the retail team saying they need, like it's such an indulgent thing. So it's hard for them. And so I don't blame them for going, look, we've got other priorities and we've got limited budgets. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to just have a consistent Mean Tweet strategy that played out every month or whatever it might be. It'd be amazing. But
so when you do the Mean Tweet strategy, that's the Jason Perez.
Yeah, that's that campaign. Yeah. I mean, it was literally stolen Jimmy Kimmel's Mean Tweets. That was because, like I said to you, we literally put every segment we could think of. Yeah. At one stage, we're like, Jason Perez doing couple karaoke, will that work? And then we realized, it's probably not a good one. Yeah.
That's so funny. I don't know if he can sing.
I don't know. That man can do just about anything.
Yeah. So if you, I've got a couple of things. Did you ever meet Gary Vee?
No.
And do you think you ever will?
Maybe. I mean, the point wasn't necessarily to meet him either. Like, it was just part of strategy. Like, I'd love to meet him. Like, it'd be great. Like, he's been a big part of my career and what I've learned and whatnot.
Is he?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I didn't really understand. I didn't have the language to articulate the things I thought when I was in hotels until I started watching him. And I was like, oh, that's what I've been trying to tell my marketing team for so long. Like, this is the thing. So he gave me the language I needed to articulate the thoughts in my head, which allowed me to then eventually, once I could articulate it, I could repeat it. And if I could repeat the thing, I could have continued success in it.
Yeah.
So I have a lot to do that. But like, I watched this interview with Colin and Samir. Do you watch? Yeah. So I watched Colin and Samir, and they were talking about when they first met Casey Neistat.
Yeah.
And they talked about when they first met him, they just were like, oh man, so thankful, like this, we did that, we did. And they told him about all the stuff, and he's like, okay, cool, thanks. And he walked off. And he's like, well done, guys. Like, and he walked off, and then they're like, oh man, we didn't even...
It wasn't the moment.
Yeah. Like, we didn't even ask him anything. We just told him how cool we were. We wanted his validation on our success. And it made me think, like, yeah, like, what do I want from Gary Vee? Like, I'd love to partner with him on some stuff. I think business opportunity wise, I think we could do a lot. I know that VaynerMedia has a paid first approach to everything. So coming in from an organic first approach, I think we could partner really well with them. But I don't necessarily just want to like fanboy him because like, is it just for me to get affirmation from him that he likes me and what I've done? But do I need that? I don't really need it. I'd never needed it from anyone. So why do I need it from him? But it'd be cool to meet him. Like, he's smart. Yeah, he's character. He's smart.
He's one of the most successful media companies.
Oh, yeah, and the speed at which he grew and took over the world, like 3,000 people.
People don't like him.
Oh, lots of people don't like him because they don't know him.
They find him quite polarizing.
Yeah, they don't know him and they watch the sound bites.
Yeah.
And then that's all they take.
I love him.
Yeah. And they also had all that press about him, like where he was like the king of hustle culture and all that sort of badness that came from that, which later on the guy who wrote that article went out and reneged it and said, oh, look, I misinterpreted the guy. But I think, people don't like everyone, like, like the bigger you grow, the more haters you get.
Do you?
Ah, yeah, 100%.
Do you have haters?
Yeah.
Wait, do you?
Yeah, of course.
God, people, I'm so like,
you probably...
Don't I look like flower child? I'm like, I always think everyone's going to be good. And it is hard for me to see that there's so many people who can be negative online.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Why?
I get a lot of because I'm in New Zealand, they go quiet. And there's a lot of I wouldn't say there's a lot, but there's like jealousy comes in, and you know because I talk to people, they're waiting for you to fall. They're waiting for the fall. And sometimes like I'll like deliberately write a LinkedIn post that sounds like I fell, and then you can just see the viewership just goes through the roof. But it's always just a clickbait, rage bait. Like I'm just rage baiting people to get them in just to see.
Yeah.
But I think that's quite normal though for people to like. It's a external reflection of themselves, right? Like they're like, oh, I'm not getting the same success. Why am I not? And because I'm so public with everything I do, people think they see the growth that I'm having. Think, man, this guy's growing so fast. And it's like, there's lots of us growing fast. It's just I'm telling the world more than everyone else. And you think that something's happening every day. And it's just, but something is happening every day, but something's happening in your business every day. You just don't tell anyone.
But I think you still make sacrifices. Like I've watched you guys and you growing, and you don't own a house. Yeah. You've decided not to own a house and you're putting your money back into your business. And these are conscious decisions where you are, I would never do that because it's all about like what makes you feel secure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like all we're saying there is that like my the sacrifices I make shouldn't necessarily then like make it okay for me for the way I'm doing it. I just think, but what I'm saying for people who the haters or the people who are jealous or whatever, they don't really hate me or really jealous. Like people who hate Gary Vee.
I wish they had that.
Yeah.
Success.
People don't really hate Gary Vee. Like no one, if you really ask someone who says, oh, I hate Gary Vee, you'd be like, but why? Like, what is it really?
I've never bothered to. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because they don't really know him. And if you really dig into it, oh, well, I saw him say this one thing once. And it's like, okay, but how much have you talked to him?
But have you read all the books?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so they don't really hate me. They're not really jealous of me. There's just something else, and they're flashing out or they're doing and saying whatever. And I say the same thing. There's, like when I watched Beyonce win that award, I was like, I fucking hate Beyonce, And my wife's always like, why do you hate Beyonce? I was like, I just hate her. And she's like, you know what you're doing. I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I still hate her. And so, but why do I hate Beyonce? I don't hate her at all. Like, of course I don't hate her. I don't even know the woman.
She's been tarnished with a brush recently.
Yeah, but of course I don't hate her, but we just use these words to describe things, and it's not really real. So I don't really mind.
But you're not going to stop. Are you still trying to, like, New York as a thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. So we've got one of our biggest clients is out of the US still. There's a lot going on in New Zealand at the moment, in Australia. So I'm probably going to be here till September, October this year. We learned that going over to New York in summer is as dumb as trying to start a business in December in New Zealand.
Everyone's away. Yeah.
So we won't go for summer anymore.
You go for winter.
Well, we'll go for autumn, fall, as they call it. Their October, November is like our February, March, right? It's like where all the deals are done because they're 1st of January to 31st December financial year.
Yeah.
So we'll go then. I've got too much going on right now. This is like our season in New Zealand to make all our cash.
Yeah.
We've got huge clients in the US already that we can work remotely with.
Can you?
Yeah. And so we can still do all of that.
Yeah.
So we don't need to be there.
So they like it because they could give you a brief. They go to sleep and then suddenly you've done the work when they wake up.
And also, they're all over like Austin, New York, LA, Idaho, whatever. So it's like, well, you're not even in all the same room, so we don't need to be in the same room as you either.
No.
In fact, actually, none of their team are actually in New York right now. So even if we're in New York, we'd still be dialing in to talk to them in Austin.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So we will go back, and the idea is to push and open up in New York. We love New York. Like, it's like my wife and I, it's like our favorite city by far. The goal will be to set up an office there, eventually put someone else in charge. Just kind of like, we got a full leadership team here in Auckland that can run without me, so do the same in New York, and then just move to the next region. And like, there'll be regions we open up.
What's the vision? 5 years' time, if we're doing this interview?
5 years' time, we'd like to have New York and Europe and Australia sorted.
Wow.
Yeah. So Europe would be like Amsterdam, probably.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then Australia, we want to do it in a different model where we sort of sell a franchise. It's not a franchise model, but like we have someone who buys in Australia, owns the region, maybe state by state or country, and they get to use all our IP, and we help them grow, and then we're the central services back here in Auckland.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go on the ground in Australia because it's just the prize isn't big enough for me to be there. Because it costs me so much to be out of the building here in Auckland. I may as well be in a market like New York. That's one deal in New York's 10 deals in Australia.
Yeah.
Like the company we got there is a Fortune 100 company. They're $50 billion company. Like, it's like 20% of New Zealand's GDP in one company. 100,000 staff. It's just different level. You can't even...
Another world.
It's another world. Like, they literally are paying us with their rounding errors. Like, and it's massive money for us. For us, it's like, oh my God. For them, it's like, they're literally paying us as like a freelancers, essentially. Like, they haven't even put us through as a supplier properly yet. They pay us through Pinnacle people.
Yeah. That's insane. Well, I mean, you can only go up from there.
Yeah. And it's huge numbers. Like, trust me, like,
yeah, I
would take plenty more of those sorts of clients. Yeah, great. Yeah. And like, look, it's expensive what they're asking us to do, and it's not like we get to take all that as profit. That's not what we're saying. But they're great clients. They're big budgets. They can do big things.
And so, is it the organic offering that you're pushing now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same stuff. We're just going after a much larger clientele in the US than we are here. Yeah. Because you can't have a bunch of small businesses support an office in New York. It's too hard. We need 3 or 4 flagships, get us located into New York and like set up there that can pay everything. And in New York, US, it's different. Like, if a client leaves, what are you going to do about it? Like, if a Fortune 100 company decides to leave, you're not going to find them in court. They're going to bury you. You can't. So you need some safety net to be able to incur all those costs. Whereas a small business, like, I mean, our rent was $20,000 a month in New York while we're there. Yeah. So we need someone who can at least just pay our rent, let alone our food and all the other costs that go into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So if you were the final question, you wanted to give some advice to people to succeed, brands that are listening or marketing people listening, and how they should be helping themselves set themselves up for success this year, what would you tell them? And then what would you tell yourself if you could go back now and tell yourself how you're going to grow and be successful and give yourself advice? What would you say to you?
Yeah, good question. First of all, this year, look, my advice probably has never changed. It's just put as much content out as possible. Realize that people won't remember the stuff if it's bad. They probably didn't see it anyway. But just test and learn as much as possible. And figure out the systems you need to start just pumping content out. Like we probably put out 500 to 600 pieces a week just for our brand, all over the place, right? Across newsletters and podcasts and clips and LinkedIn posts and all sorts of stuff, and across different platforms, right? One piece of content might go on 6 platforms, which would count as 6. So just figure out a system to get as much content out as possible. And inside that system, have a way to evaluate how well it did and what you need to do to check it and make it better. And if you can just start small then, like even if you start 10 bits a week, whatever it might be, and then you slowly build that up as the system grows, like go for the system first, not the content. Don't worry about the content. Worry about the system first to get it all out. Trust me, like by the end of the year, like something magical will happen. Like I can't say what it is, but you won't even be able to think about what it is right now.
Yeah.
You won't know the opportunity that's going to come if you just do this, and it'll blow your world.
So so just a quick thing there. Is it about the numbers game, or is it quantity or quality? Or should it be quality and quantity?
Nah, it's like, this is a quote from Gary Vee. It's quantity leads to quality. So do the quantity, it'll get you to quality once you know. There's a thing that we sell to clients is that in a traditional advertising model, it's make an assumption, build a campaign. For us, it's test and learn, build the campaign. Get the audience data from them. So run out some content, figure out what they want and see, then build your campaign out of it. Right. And so like the mean tweets one, if you go back to that, we went and poured through comments and everything. We understood the brand so well. We had all our research already. Boom, campaign. Every other client that we work with, we we go through everything. We come up with something. We test and learn a whole bunch. 2-3 months in, we're like, okay, this is the move. Bang, go. And then it takes.
Well, that's you not trying to tell them what to do from the get-go.
Nah.
Yeah.
But the only way to do that is by putting content out. You have to have lots of content going out all the time, so you can get lots of commentary back as well. So start with quantity, just build a system to push it out as much as possible. It will then allow your audience to tell you what it wants from you, and then slowly build to that. Quality isn't a sign of how well the thing's been made, but how well it resonates with the audience. And that's where people get mistaken. Oh, I've got to have the best looking thing. No, you've got to have the thing that resonates the best with your audience. That's the quality argument. And you know that from getting the most data back from all the stuff you put out, if that makes sense. For me, if I was going back and look at myself when we started this journey and what we did, I actually got asked this question the other day, and it probably is the same answer, which is like, I would have, knowing what I know now 5-6 years ago when TikTok was taken off and LinkedIn was at its infancy, I would have just done that same advice. I would have done so much more content. I didn't quite realize the exponential growth that I could have had if I had like doubled down on LinkedIn, doubled down on TikTok with what I know now about content creation back then. My personal brand would be huge on TikTok because I would have caught one of those waves early, what I know now. It's still fine now, but I would have caught a wave early. And I would have hired someone to help me do that really early on. And before I was trying to do it all myself, but I would have just spent the money. I would have just like gotten, someone like a young kid who knows what they're doing, pay them $5,000 a month. It comes out of my personal wallet. But knowing that 6 months later, we would have had an opportunity like One Z land on our door if we did that right. So I'm truthful about that. Like if you push out content and you have a system to continuously increase that content and make it better for your audience, like an opportunity is going to knock on your door that you had no clue was possible at the date you started. And I know that so well because it continues to happen every few months for us. We're like, mate, this thing's happening. Like the other day, one of the Shark Tank people from Australia has reached out to us and jumping on a call this week because they need help with all of their brands.
Wow.
Like, what the hell? Like, that's crazy.
That's mega.
Yeah. I can show you after this because I haven't actually had that meeting, but I'll show you it. But that's massive for us.
That's huge.
I would never have targeted a Shark Tank judge.
I wouldn't have even thought of it.
Why would I have done that?
No.
I've never gone after a shark, but because we do this thing, like these things happen, these opportunities that you could never, ever have predicted. And that's not because I'm running a certain ad type or whatever. I'm just doing the same thing we've always done, just more and more content constantly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And it's been wicked.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Thoroughly engrossed.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I hope it was good.
It was great.
No, it was good. No, thank you so much.